Hey, Miguel.
Hello, Mr. Odum. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Doing great. Hey, thank you for taking your time out of your day to speak to me for a bit.
Not a problem.
All right, let's get started. Okay, so because I found out about you last night around 10. It was very late, so, I was like, I got to text you as soon as possible so you can get it in the morning, right? So,
Yeah,
so it says here that you were the head coach of Lucerne Valley.
correct.
And I'm proud of you. I mean, you transformed those guys. I mean, I hear, I was reading on that article that you walked into, a restaurant, and you heard that people were like, oh, this team isn't going to do anything this year or something like that, right?
Right.
What was going through your mind? Were you like upset? Were you like, oh man, that's just very disrespectful for me and my athletes?
No, I've seen it before, and it's kind of a sad thing, but there's nothing you can do about it except deal with it and do your best. Everybody, it's easy to get down on a team when they're down, and winning a few games will change all that. Unfortunately, we only won one,
Right.
but we did make good showing of ourselves throughout the season. So all you can do is try, and in small schools, these things go in cycles. You'll have a couple of good years, and you'll have a couple of bad years. They're just they're on the downside right now.
Right. And what did you tell your athletes when you won that game 8-22? Was it something like, hey guys, I mean, these guys are also a small school, so it shouldn't be that hard? Or were you like, hey, let's just play with more toughness, how we've been playing all the other games?
Well, it was just again, we didn't do anything differently. We just kind of put it all together. That game we made fewer mistakes, and that's always the way. You make fewer mistakes and good things happen. But for the most part, throughout the season, we moved the ball pretty well. We stopped the ball when we had to. We just made a lot of mistakes, game in and game out. And that game, it kind of just all came together. We were just due to have a better game all around. And in fact, that was Cal Lutheran. They were ranked number 10 at the time. We knocked them out of the playoffs. So we did something. We accomplished something. That just it was hard. Playing from behind the entire season just by sheer numbers. We finished our last game against Hesperia Christian, who was ranked number 1 in CIF. We only had 8 guys. We dressed out only 8 guys.
Right.
So, and we gave them a game. We scared them at halftime.
Right. I was surprised, like, when I seen that article the next day. It's like Lucerne Valley on a new streak. I'm like, whoa, this caught my attention because, I haven't seen Lucerne Valley do something like that in, over 3 years, I believe?
Yeah, it's been a while, yeah.
And, did you get a lot of respect from around the league? Like, did coaches call you like, hey, Coach Doug, you did a great job on this game? Or were you like, it's just, we got to move on. We got.
Well, we got, when we went at the end of the season, we had a league meeting and we chose the all league teams and such. And I got a lot of appreciation there. The coaches are nice guys, but really the accolades were best because we ended up with 2 guys on the all league team. When you only win one game. Right. And you still have two players represented on the first team all league. You must have done something right, so it was good for those kids.
Exactly. And how did you actually find Lucerne Valley? Such a small school. I mean, I didn't find out about it till probably.
Well, I've known, I've been in, I'm a California native and been playing around here for my whole life. I actually played up I grew up in Lone Pine, just up north, so I've known Lucerne Valley for a long time. But I was in San Diego on the staff at San Ysidro High when I check out the CIF websites and they post all the open jobs. Right. And I saw that Lucerne I know that Lucerne had posted it and
Mm-hmm.
taken it off, which meant they found a coach, and then a couple of weeks later it was back up. And I said, hey, so I didn't give them a call and say, hey, and I do my homework, on
Yeah.
Max Preps and Cal Prep. You can see their record. You can see how they've done year in and year out. And I could see that they needed some help. So I gave them a call, and they said, come on up in the interview, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that's a good way to find these teams out here because I've taken the steps myself. I mean, I was like, okay, I'm gonna see who has a better record. I'm gonna see what coaches are coaching who. Like I'm looking at the records. You're like, okay, you got these 10-0 teams, and then you got some of these 0-10 teams. I'm like, okay, I mean, it's not bad. These coaches probably are still learning these athletes, and like you, I think you were learning Lucerne's athletes like little by little, like it said on the article, right? Like you were just learning.
Yeah, it takes time. It takes time, and that's part of the being a coach. Part of being a teacher is you're learning and developing a relationship with each of those kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about.
Right. And so now it's time to get to Excelsior. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. The season we actually went backwards. 1-9. I mean, yeah, 1-8, 1-9.
Yeah. 1-9. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, plus the coach didn't.
Well, they had some problems. It's nothing completely unique. It's nothing that you'd want to go through, and you hate to see it happen, but it happens occasionally.
Yeah.
And really, it's terrible for the kids because in the middle of the season, everything just falls apart, and you lose your focus, and you just kind of flounder the rest of the way.
Yeah.
From what I gather, what I'm told, they started this early in the spring with about 50 kids, and they ended up with only about 22.
Yeah.
And that's how discouraging it was. So we have to pick up the pieces and get that encouragement back up. So get these kids excited about it and start all over. Just
yeah.
So that's what it takes. Unfortunately.
Hello. Oh, you're cutting off a little bit, so I couldn't hear that last part. I don't know whose internet it is there.
Fortunately, for those seniors, their season was pretty much ruined, and I wish there was something we could do for them, but we can't.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna play most of these schools we played again, probably half of them, and a lot of them were tough opponents. Is there things you want to change, or before, like, is it the weight you want to change, or on field practice?
Say that again. What was the question?
Yeah, because we're gonna play half of the schedule we played, like let's say St. Margaret's. We'll probably play Granite Hills again, and those guys are bigger opponents. I mean, I know a lot of coaches will say it's unhealthy for the athletes, but what is your perspective? I mean, do you have to change things in practice or the weight room before you play those guys, or what's the mindset going into those games?
Well, we just finished filling out our schedule. We scheduled Rim of the World for our open slot, mm-hmm. and I scheduled the Army Navy Academy down in San Diego. So we're gonna have a San Diego trip.
Wow.
Well, you know what? These are not bigger schools. I'm not quite sure the exact enrollment at Excelsior, but if you've got 700 or 800 kids, we're as big as any of these schools.
Right.
In fact, probably all of them except Granite Hills.
Right.
Yeah. And so when if you're talking about physical size athletes themselves,
mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? It's to me, it's not the size of the dog; it's the size of the fight of the dog. And when I was a player and as a coach, I've learned that really it's more about execution. If you can be a big, huge monster and you can just simply overpower everybody, great.
Right.
But if not, you can still be successful by doing things the right way. proper execution and learning your fundamentals the right way. And so many coaches don't bother with that. They say they do, but they really don't. And I just use myself as an example. I was a pretty good athlete in high school because I was well coached, and it got me a Division I scholarship. But I was not I was not a huge monster. I was nothing, spectacular physically, but I did everything the right way that I was taught.
Right. And that's good for you because, if you're coached well, you can go very good places. That's what these athletes need. They need coaches that can coach them very well so that, they can perform a lot better.
Yeah. And that's what we'll shoot for. And I'm looking forward. I'm putting a schedule together, and if we can get these kids together as soon as we can, and have a good spring practice and carry that on through the summer. It's just a lot of repetition and learning to do things the right way and making sure that's the only way you do it, and good things will happen.
Yeah. So a lot of these athletes, a lot of former from 2016-17 season, they noticed that. I actually noticed that you actually coached at Vasquez, right?
Yeah, I was there. That was back in 2005. Yeah.
And a lot of those athletes actually enjoy us playing Vasquez. So are you going to be surprised, if you have the decision to put them on the schedule, would you ask?
Well, I already tried. Tim Jorgensen was the athletic director there. Now he's on the school board, actually. I gave him a call, and the potential was there for us to fill the schedule, but their schedule was already filled. So we might play them next year. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, all these schools around here in the high desert, I'm familiar. I played at all of them, from Bishop on down, Mojave and Roseman and Tehachapi and Boron. I played at all those schools, and I know that most of the coaches there, and some of the my older friends that I played against are like Paul Kostopoulos at Boron. He's the principal now.
Right.
So I have connections all over this area, which makes it, one of the reasons I thought of coming up here. It was just familiar.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So, are you actually planning to change the league? League? Are you gonna exit the Cross Valley, or are you?
Well, I can see us. If things go well, if I had my plans. Yeah, we'd move up to probably the DSL. And there's no reason. Again, we have the numbers as long as we just get the enthusiasm back and get the kids out to play. Good things will happen. So in my mind, if we put together a decent program and we're consistent in what we do, we'd be a better fit in the DSL than we are in the Cross Valley.
Right. Yeah, because we actually been defeating Riverside Prep for about 9-8 years, and then and a lot of athletes were upset when they finally lost to them. Is that something you got to coach better? If you're staying undefeated, you got to coach better every year, or you're keeping the same mentality as you've been playing?
Well, you just try to be as consistent as possible and make sure that the things that work for you are what you continue to do. You have to grow a little bit. You add a little bit here and there. You steal a play here and there, and you just make sure that the kids are kept to a certain standard. There's just things that I like to tell kids. If you're playing varsity football, you have to be able to do this. If you can't do this, you should probably be on a JV team or something. There's just some basic standards in everything you do, and if everybody's to that level, you'll be fine, and you'll end up winning some games. Winning to me is not. I don't stress that at all. I stress learning the game as best they can. Playing with good sportsmanship and pride, and playing as hard as you can, and then winning kind of just takes care of itself. It just kind of happens.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because looks like we need more of what you just said right now. We need to set more standards for our athletes, and because I noticed some of those players. I mean, some of the players were on like the wrong rosters. You know, some would be on JV, or there's some of them will be on varsity where they should be on JV. So I can't wait to see how you change up the rosters and how athletes are supposed to play, like on what level. And I'm just excited for that myself. And the alumni here at Excelsior, it's just I believe we should win more championships. And I trust you because I've read upon you. I mean, you can change seasons around, like it says. For what was it? It was an Arizona basketball team, correct?
Football and basketball. I was the last 15 years. I've been all over the place. I did, I had one offer after another, and I kept moving around because it was kind of fun. I resurrected several basketball programs and several football programs, and that was kind of my specialty. And that was another thing that attracted me to Lucerne, is they were as down as they could be. So I wanted to come here and help them get back on their feet. But Excelsior pretty much down too. Mm-hmm. But they have just a lot more to work with. I want to rebuild something, but I need the bricks. I need the pieces to put together. Right. And at Lucerne, they really just don't have all those things. It was kind of a lone wolf out there doing everything by myself, and I need a little bit of help. And at Excelsior, I'm pretty sure that the administration there and all the people that I've met so far mm-hmm. are going to be a big part of that.
Right. So, are you planning to keep the 2018 coaches? Are you going to come up with a whole new lineup of coaches?
Well, I've been trying to gather some coaches. I've got 4 on staff now, and two of them were from last year, and 2 of them weren't. So I've still got room for more, but it's not a pressing issue right now. I've got enough to get things started and get everybody in the weight room and have a good spring practice. So right. Hopefully I'll be finding 2 more coaches. That was a big problem out here in Lucerne, is that I didn't have any assistant coaches. It was just me. Just
yourself. That's tough.
It was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you did pretty good.
Yeah.
That's something impressive right there. It's like you did pretty good. I mean, just to be by yourself.
Yeah, it's just again, a smaller program, but it's still when you're out there with 20 plus kids, it's hard for one coach to keep things moving and keep things flowing properly. Right. Let alone all the other things that a head coach has to do, all the administrative stuff. It's a lot of work, but I'm up to it. It's basically, if it's done right, you can, if you have the time, you can make it just a full-time thing, and that's what I've chosen to do. I'm not teaching this year. All I'm going to do is coach.
No, that's good, because you got to see what your other coaches can do. I mean, you got to work as a unit right now. I mean, now that you got yourself a unit, let's see what all your coaches and yourself can do with a bunch of athletes. We can. I just can't wait for the season to start already.
Yeah, I'm pretty anxious too. I wish. It's still January, and we've got a ways to go. But I want to finalize my coaching staff as best as it is right now. Right. Get together with them first, and then we've got a meeting scheduled with the kids. I'm not sure when that is. Like February 7th or something like that. We're going to meet the kids for the first time.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, I think they'll be happy to meet you because, it's always good to welcome new coaches. And I like how you're, what's that word? It's, faithful to your teams. And it's like, yeah, we need that because, some of the coaches, some of the coaches would leave because of how things went, or, they just didn't want to come back only because of certain circumstances. But I hope this program you're starting is a lot different than that. I mean, I know Excelsior is better than that. We're not that type of team where, you know, we should be that type of team that should be like, oh, we shouldn't coach here anymore. It's a wreck. It's done. We can't save this. But I think we've made the right decision on hiring you as the head coach because, yeah, we need someone to turn this rubble into a big old mansion again.
Well, like I said, I think all the pieces are there. It's just a matter of putting them in place. And you know, bottom line, I want everybody to enjoy it and have fun. But I pretty much run things as they're supposed to be. My first football coach, when I was in high school, he played for John McKay at USC, Division I player, played on a national championship. He wasn't a star or anything, but he showed us how top-notch programs are supposed to be run. This is the way you do things, and this is things you don't do.
Right.
Then my first basketball coach, played for John Wooden at UCLA. He played on the national championship team too. Same thing. He showed us the way things are supposed to be run, the way you're supposed to do things,
right.
You know, and the way things that you're not supposed to do on a top-notch course. So I don't know any different. I've taken that with me wherever I've gone. And I follow suit, and I'll be telling those kids all the time. This is how we do things in a top-notch program, or that's something we don't do in a top-notch program.
Yeah.
You know, and eventually, you know, you do things right and do things consistently. Good things happen, and everybody enjoys it. You know, but you got to get everybody on the same page.
Right. So. Is this are you gonna stay here for good, or is this
pretty much? As I told people in the interview, this is my last gig. I don't plan on going anywhere. This is where I want to stay. I've got a nice little house out here. I'm comfortable, and I want to make this my last job.
Right. That's good. I mean, I can't wait to start another stint with another long-running coach because, you know, we had that for a while, and it was good for the program,
yeah.
You know? I mean, sure, we didn't make it to a lot of playoffs, but, I mean, he tried to introduce us to different skills and, you know, different types of play areas where we can, you know, learn and grow from so we can be a better team as a unit. So,
yeah, you need that consistency, and that's what you had, and that's what they've lost, and hopefully we'll get that back.
Yeah, and I believe you can do it, sir.
Yeah, good.
So when is your actually first practice? I would like to just come out and just see it as
well, let me see if I can pull up that schedule here. In fact, I'm still working on this. I've got a schedule basically that starts now and goes right on through the end of the season.
Right.
Let me see if I can.
You planning on bringing Fraser Mountain back to our schedule?
What's that? Fraser Mountain?
Yeah, Fraser Mountain.
No, they actually left the southern section. They moved to the central section, and they dropped down to 8-man football.
Ah, okay. So we're still staying in 11-man, right?
Right.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Hopefully, we'll start getting kids into the weight room in March.
Ooh, interesting.
But the actual first spring practice is April 22nd.
April 22nd.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you for your time, sir, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today.
My pleasure, Miguel. My pleasure.
All right, sir. You have a good night, and I'll see you in April.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Goodbye.